don't look forward to my boyfriend coming home. He doesn't do well with me at night because he hates his life, he says, and he takes all his anger out on me. I'm talking physically and mentally. And well, there's a couple other things he does, and I'll share them with you now. I, 22 female, am living with my boyfriend Robert, and for the past 10 years I've been through an overwhelming amount of abuse by this man. As much as I've tried to love him through all of it, I just don't know how much more I can take. Just last week when I came home from my mother's house, he immediately choked me and slammed me against the wall. I didn't even get to say a single word before I was almost about to black out from his hands being around my throat. All I could do was beg him, and my eyes started to, well, squeeze the life out of me. He must have let go at some point before I actually died because, well, I'm still here. I woke up on the floor and started coughing because my throat was practically crushed. I didn't call the police that time because I knew I would not actually press any charges. I never seemed to be able to follow through with the police report and, well, have him locked up. I love him so much, but because of the way he's treated me for so long, I don't love myself anymore. How could I love me when he doesn't love me? It just doesn't make any sense. I keep asking him why he's still with me, but he just says because he loves me. But how can he, when he does nothing but yell and hurt me? I've never laid a finger on him. I didn't want him to hurt the way I've hurt, and he'll be home shortly from work, and I'm just so nervous as to how he'll act when he gets here. I never know who's going to walk into the door after he gets home. I sit here and shake and rock back and forth nervously, just waiting for him to unlock the door and come inside. I know immediately who I will encounter by the way he takes off his shoes. Well, if he just slides them off his feet and sits down calmly in that specific spot, then I know it's going to be a good day. However, if he kicks them off of his feet violently into the hallway in front of the bathroom door, then I know I need to brace for impact. So I'm just sitting here shivering and shaking. 2:58 p.m. 2 more minutes. He'll be home. I started to bite my nails, but hurried up and ripped my finger from my mouth. If he saw me chewing on my nails, he would try to rip them off with the fingernail clippers. He was able to get half of one of my nails to rip off once. It was agony. He made me promise to never do it again, or he would keep ripping them off one by one. So now I try really hard not to, but I do it out of fear and habit. I've always chewed on my nails. I didn't know it was such a bad thing until I met Robert. I still have a hard time remembering not to do it. That's not even the top 10 of the bad things he's done to me, though. I could go on for hours, if somebody would just stop to listen for 5 minutes. Unfortunately, no one ever really does. Well, except for my best friend Jennifer. She and Robert's mother, Cheyenne, are the only ones who really know about the abuse. I've done everything I can to hide the truth from my family. Although, it's very hard to hide their bruises that he leaves on me sometimes. That's why I don't go and see them very often. For all my mother knows, I just don't come around because I'm too busy working or doing stuff with Robert. I don't know if she has a clue about what's been transpiring for the past 10 years. I think that if she did, she would have said something by now. I mean, I could only tell her I tripped and fell so many times, but Robert is very good at pretending to be the perfect boyfriend while we're around other people. He acts very charming and kind, especially around my family. But since I don't want him to get into trouble, I just stay far away as possible. I haven't talked to my brother in over 2 years. I don't think he minds though, because we never got along really. I sure do miss my mother though. I can hear Robert place his key into the lock on our front door and turn his key and unlock it, and then walk inside the house. I just hold my breath waiting. And then it happened. His shoes came flying down the hallway in front of the bathroom and he stomped inside, slamming the door. I squeaked due to the fear bubbling inside of my stomach. I feel like I'm going to be sick because I don't really know exactly what's coming. And then he comes flying around the corner and he stops smiling at me and he says, "Hey honey, I'm just kidding, I'm not mad today." I just sat there stunned. And then it hit me all of a sudden. He actually knows that I know when he's going to beat me and when he gets home. He knows that I know about the shoes. He must have made it that way on purpose. And just as if he were reading my mind, he spoke up in between my thoughts and said, "Yeah, I know about the shoes." He just laughed with this evil smile on his face. He looks at me and stops and frowns, and he says, "What? You didn't think I knew?" "Of course I know. I made it that way so you would know what to expect each and every day. It's after all that least I could do for you, right?" Well, as he walked towards the bathroom, taking his shirt off to take a shower, I watched him as he walked into our bathroom and shut the door behind him. Then I just broke down. I ran out of the living room and grabbed my phone off the kitchen table and quietly snuck out the back door to call Robert's mother and Jennifer to tell them what I've just learned. When I told Jennifer about what Robert had just revealed to me, she was shocked. Then she came up with a plan to see if I could get him to stop doing what he's been doing. She suggested that she moves in with us. That way, he would have to be nice to me because she would be there. I told her that's a great idea, and she told me to tell Robert that she didn't have anywhere to go and to ask him if she could stay with us. Well, I told her I would do it later tonight after dinner. That's usually when he's easier to talk to and I'm able to get things that I want. As soon as I thought about that, I began to wonder if he knows about that too. I'm so paranoid now. I don't know how I'm going to be able to keep from making him angry. Well, less angry than he usually is. I was afraid to tell his mother about what he said, but I knew she would be upset if I did not tell her what he said. Whenever Robert hits me or beats me in some way and I'm able to get away, I usually run the 2 blocks it takes to get his mother's house. Ever since the first time I showed up on her doorstep at 2 a.m. in the pouring rain, she opened the door and saw me standing there crying with blood running down my face. She keeps the door unlocked now and in the back, so I don't have to wait for her to go unlock it. And as soon as I'm in the house, I just lock that door and run to Robert's old bedroom, and I hide in the closet. His mother comes in and holds me and helps me clean up my face if it's necessary. She's taken care of me many times over the last 6 years. I didn't start going to her house until we've been together 4 years, and, well, it was the 100th time he's beaten me. Yes, it's happened many times in 4 years. She never blamed me or told me that I was lying. She just welcomed me into her home and took care of me. I love his mother like she's my second mom. That's when I realized that we're sitting on the couch after eating supper, and we're having to look for something to watch on TV. I sat up, I looked at Robert and waited for him to look back. When he finally noticed and turned his head, I smiled at him and tried to speak, but I stuttered at first. Then I took a deep breath to start again. Jennifer doesn't have anywhere to go. She got kicked out of her apartment, sweetie. I said, looking down at my fingers, noticing that the fingernail I was biting on earlier that day was ripped off a bit. So I hurried up and hid the finger so Robert wouldn't see, and then I said, "Is it okay if she stays with us for just a bit? It won't be for long, Robert. She said she's going to start looking for something to go to, but she just needs somewhere to stay for now." I expected him to get mad because I'd never asked him for something like this before. But to my surprise, his face softened and he said, "Yeah, I guess she could stay for a few weeks if she really needs it." And I smiled and thanked him, and then I got up and went and called Jennifer, who was just as surprised as I was about him being so calm about the entire situation. And then she told me she would be over soon, and I told her I would leave the front door unlocked and that she could just come on in when she got here, since there's now her home too. What I didn't know is that Jennifer really did need somewhere to go because she was kicked out of her apartment. I don't really think it through when she told me about her plan to come to stay with me to see if Robert would be nicer. But she really needed somewhere to go because she hadn't paid for her rent for the past 6 months. When she finally told me after it's been 3 weeks of her living with us, I was kinda mad and, well, relieved at the same time. Mostly because Robert had been nice to me the whole time. Jennifer's been living with us and, well, I was mad because now they're like best friends. Jennifer has started to question me about Robert and whether or not I've been truthful about the abuse. I had to remind her that he always pretends to be nice to me when other people are around. She said she understands, but her face told me that she was still thinking I was lying. How could she possibly think I'm lying? I mean, especially when she's seen the bruises and the marks around my neck. What? Did I do it to myself? I don't think so. Ever since the first week of her being here, they started sitting close together on the couch, and every time I leave for work, the door's always locked when I get home. And if one of them goes to smoke a cigarette, then they both have to go smoke a cigarette. And Jennifer's stupid giggling when they're together is driving me insane. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story starts off wild. I thought that the mother moving into the house was going to make a drastic difference, but it looks like OP's husband, Robert, is trying to pull a fast one over on us. Alright guys, there's a couple updates for this story, so we're going to jump in update number 1. If you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second, smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for that support. Here's your update. Not only was she taking his side now, but she's pretty much replaced me with him. The longer she's here, the closer they get together, and she doesn't realize that he's not the man she's getting to know. He's too scared to show anyone truth. Well, I know whom he really is, and I'm not going to sit here and allow them to do what I'm pretty sure they're doing behind my back. So, I started staying home from work and leaving for work late on the days I did go. So much, in fact, that they made me part-time employee instead of full-time. I was upset about it, but I've been skipping work quite a bit. Robert would chastise me in private about not going to work. He was trying so hard not to knock my teeth out down my throat, and I just knew it. The looks on his face when he is quietly yelling at me, it looks like the veins on his forehead are about to explode. I decided to pretend to go to work and then come straight back to the house after driving around the block and parking at the end of the street. So, that morning I got up and got ready for work and pretended like everything was fine. If they're doing what I think they're doing, then I need to be able to catch them in the act. And you know what? I hope she finds out the hard way about how to be with Robert. If she really wants him and has betrayed me, then I'm going to make them both pay for what they're doing. I left the house, leaving the door unlocked. Both doors, in fact, should be unlocked, but I made sure I had to get my key in. I drove around the block and parked down the street and then began jogging back to the house. I ran through the little gangway quietly, snuck around the back to the back door. I put my ear against the door, listening for some kind of sound from inside. All I could hear is Jennifer, giggling and maybe thumping on the floor. My face became as red as rubies from anger, like it usually did when I get really mad. I grabbed the door handle and tried to open the door, but it was locked. I cursed Robert and Jennifer before grabbing my keys and slowly putting them in the lock. I opened the door and walked inside, and as soon as I got into the kitchen, I heard Jennifer scream out laughing. And then there were feet hitting the floor from the other side of the house. Before I knew it, I was face to face with her and she was completely naked, and Robert was right behind her in nothing but his boxers. They both saw me and stopped dead in their tracks. I blew up immediately and started chasing them both back into our bedroom. My hand raised in the air, ready to grab Jennifer by the hair and toss her around like a doll. But they got their way ahead of me and slammed the door in my face and locked it behind them. I swore to them both that I was going to make them pay for what they've done, but more importantly, what Robert has done to me. Update number 2. I found myself running to Robert's mother's house. Tears running down my face, and all I can think about is how I let this man ruin my life for so freaking long. Just to have him cheat on me right in front of my face with my witch of a best friend. As soon as I made it to her house, I ran to the back door and went inside. His mother was watching the morning news and she was startled by my sudden entrance. I ran to her and dropped to my knees in front of her as she sat in her recliner. I screamed in agony and told her what just happened. She told me that this probably is the best thing that could have ever happened to me, and I knew she was right, but I did not make me feel good. I needed to get revenge and I needed to do it soon. They don't get to live happily ever after, not after what I've been through, and I know exactly how I'm going to do it. I wasn't sure if I should tell his mother about my plan, but I knew she would figure it out eventually, so I just told her exactly what I was going to do. She told me that I would get arrested, but I told her I don't care. It was worth it even if I did get arrested, and I'm going to take the only thing he has, his house and his truck. After I'm done, he's going to be homeless without a vehicle to sleep in. And I know his mother won't allow him to stay here because I'm going to be here. What he doesn't know is that his mother has my back and knows about how abusive he is. That's because he used to beat on her even as a child, and he was ruthless and a narcissistic. He always has been the vindictive and evil person, and now I'm going to ruin him and his new little girlfriend. You see, I'm taking his house and his truck, and she'll probably stay with him because she was nowhere to go, and, well, he'll start beating her instead of me. That's enough of a revenge plot for Jennifer. She can have what I had and enjoy it all she wants. She wanted him so bad she can have that hell that I specifically told her about, and now she denies it ever happening. Oh, just wait, Jennifer, because soon you'll know my pain. I hurried up and left Robert's mother's house and jogged back to where I parked my car. I got in and went to the nearest hardware store and got the supplies I would need for the night. I need matches, 2 gas cans, and gasoline. I was able to get everything I needed. I just had to go to the gas station and fill up both gas cans and did just that. I took it all back to Robert's mom's house and left it all in my car. His mom told me that if I was going to do what I told her, then she was going to support me no matter what happened. She told me that her son had it coming after everything he's put me through. She was the one who saw the worst of our relationship. All those nights I would show up bleeding and bruised with marks around my neck on multiple occasions. Update number 3. Right before I was about to leave to go to Robert's house, his mother stopped me and said, "You might need a getaway car, don't you think?" I blinked in surprise and shook my head with tears rolling down my eyes and said yes. She's going to drive me there and wait in the car and have it ready to go since I finished my plan. I don't necessarily want to hurt him, so when we get there, I only poured gasoline around the house except the front side of the home, because I knew the bedroom they both are more than likely to be in is our old room, and it's closest to the exit. I doused the house, including the windows and the tree that sits right next to it, and I ran out front and doused his truck. I started in the back and lit a match and threw it at the back door, and everything went up in flames. I started running to the right side of the house and hurried up and threw another lit match at the house, and the flames licked up to the side of the house. I wanted to do the other side of the home, but since I put so much gasoline on the perimeter of the house, the flames were already climbing up the house and they started going around following the path of the gasoline. So, I ran out front and threw a lit match on his truck, and it also went up in flames. I made sure not to leave any evidence that could go point towards me as a suspect, and hurried up and ran as fast as I could and leaped into the car and screamed, "Go, go, go!" Robert's mother slammed her foot down on the gas and took off from the side of town to begin our alibis. For all anyone knew, we were eating supper at Applebee's on the opposite side of town. We got there in 7 minutes, hurried up and got a table, and we chose this restaurant specifically because we knew there would be that many people there. So, there would be a table as soon as we get there. We sat down at the table and ordered the first thing off the menu just to get the food to the table ASAP. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath, and then I started to hyperventilate a bit. Cheyenne grabbed me by the hand and told me to calm down. Well, I sat back and began to breathe in deeply and exhale slowly. I just looked at her and said, "I did it." Well, we did it. A smile spread across my face, and I knew he would know it was me, but he wouldn't have any proof of it being me. And we ate our supper, and as soon as we left, we went to the river that's even further from Robert's house. And I exposed the gas cans and matches right then and there. Then we made our way home. His mom was so sure that she would have gotten a call by now about the house being on fire, but there was never a call. Update number 4. Well, it turns out that Robert tried to call his mother about the fire, but his phone screen had been broken when he and Jennifer were fleeing from the house. He showed up to his mother's home with Jennifer asking her if they could stay there. She told him no, and that she was not letting him and some random girl live here, and then she asked him where I was. He just paused and said, "I don't know where she is. She came home from work and threatened us and then left." He also told her that he thought I started the fire. His mom just starts laughing and says, "I hope she did. You deserve everything coming your way after everything you've put her through." And then she slammed the door in his face. The last thing I heard from Jennifer was when she called me about 2 weeks ago crying and carrying on. She told me that she knew I wasn't lying about the abuse because Robert had just gotten done beating her because she could not come up with the money that they needed to keep the motel room that they've been staying in. She told me how he choked her and gave her a black eye. I just laughed at her and told her that I could care less. I told her she deserved every bit of pain that he forced upon her. She was somewhat shocked that I was so mean to her about it instead of being sympathetic. I told her I had no sympathy for her or Robert. Then I got really brave and said, and I quote, "I'm the reason you have no home or truck, and now you'll experience all the pain I endured because you probably are too stupid to leave him like I was." She just cried into the phone, telling me how sorry she was that she did not mean for everything to happen the way it did. The very last thing I said to her was make sure you pay attention to how he takes off his shoes. If he kicks them off with his feet violently, then you're in for a beating. But if he takes them off calmly and places them in the specific spot, you'll be fine. All I could hear was her scream, "You already told me that." "Yeah, you should have listened." And then I slammed the phone down and hung up. I haven't heard another word from her, and I'm glad. I've been saving up my own money for my own apartment, but Cheyenne really doesn't want me to leave. She's been having trouble remembering things, and I've kinda been taking care of her living here. I think I might stay and take care of her while she needs me. After all, she did take care of me all those times I showed up in the middle of the night and never complained once. It is, after all, the least I could do for her. Well, guys, I'll be honest with you. In this story, Robert, what a piece of work. I mean, laying your hands on somebody is one thing, but continuously living your life like that and moving on to another girl, which, by the way, you cheated on with, and then you start abusing that girl too. At one point, does somebody just stop you, Robert? I mean, you're just a piece of crap. Guys, how would you go about handling Robert if you were in OP's position? I know it's hard for people to get out of situations like that, so let's talk about it in the comment section. Maybe somebody listening has been in a similar situation like that of OP and Robert. How did you handle it? Guys, a lot of the commenters were saying, why didn't OP just not go to the police? Well, there were other commenters that replied and just said, well, I've done this before. I've been through the same thing that OP has, and it's so much harder than just going to the police. So guys, let's discuss it in the comment section. Drop any insight that you have on it. Have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.